These are the therapy sessions I wish I could get paid for. Welcome to the post-mortem episode, everyone, of Isles Talk. My name is Paul Kreischer. I'm your host this evening, and joining me once again, Gary Harding. Gary, how are you?
Is the doctor in? Dr. Kreischer
Yeah,
in?
at least the licensed doctor, the licensed counselor is here today.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll see what happens here. Yeah, see, I love Matthew. He gets us. What up, weirdos? That's it. Only two weirdos would do any kind of a show during a game 7, huh?
And
Anyway.
before you get into it, let's just get everybody that listens up here, just say your prayers and hope that everything's all right with Joe because he's lost power where he lives in South Jersey. So hopefully he's okay, because he would have added a hell of a lot of banter to this tonight.
Oh, no question. But again, Joe's not going to be allowed on the show if Florida wins tonight. So there's that. For those of you who know, Joe last week or a couple of weeks ago did pick Florida to beat Boston. So if Florida does win, Joe will be on a hiatus on my account. So there's that, because I don't want to hear his mouth for the entire summer.
See, now you know who has the power on this show.
Exactly.
Right over there.
Right, yeah. In this case, yes. It's not happening. Boys, what's up? Cutler, Matt, what's going on? So, all right, let's just dive right into this, Gary. Game 6. Isles lose at UBS Arena. All said and done, they basically lose by 1 goal out of this entire series. Tough one to swallow. Give me your thoughts.
Yeah, it is. As we were saying before we came on the air, they only lost by 1 point. I'm going to be probably in the minority here, where I say this series was a hell of a lot closer than it was. I really do. Mistakes, when the mistakes were made, they were glaring. The decisions in the third period were glaring. But I don't fault much of the team. You're playing a team like Carolina, who's they weren't the number 2 team in the league for nothing. They are a damn good team. And they're good in every sense of the puck. When they play at their best, like when we play at our best, they smother. And at times they did that. And at times we did it right back to them. So, I'm of course disappointed we didn't make it to round 2, but I think there were lessons learned. I really think unfortunately the third line got a little stymied. They played their tails off, but they didn't get rewarded. There were guys that really played hard and didn't get rewarded. I like that line. Yes.
I know.
As we were saying, I think Bo Horvat has been officially Islanderized. He now gets what it is to be an Islander. But again, as we were saying, he took responsibility, and I think that's a good sign. But again, just going down as an overall thing, I really think this is still a very close series. I still think they played hard. It's just, the problem that this Islander team has had for the last 7 years and 4 different coaches is that when we go 5-on-4, it's like all hope is lost. Power play sucked. Randy, spot on. But this is going to be an interesting 30 to 45 days for this organization, because you got to wonder, and it starts from the top. What are you going to do at the top of the organization with Lou? End of a contract, 80 years old. Is he going to want to continue doing? No, I don't know. And then when you have that decision, then you got to look down at your coaching staff and everything else. But, like I said, I'm bummed, but here we are. And now we're talking about what we're going to do next year.
So, yeah, I'm going to, it's interesting what Mark said. Again, I'm going to leave this here for a minute. Horvat's last 30 games were very troubled. For him, maybe, but the team went 17-9-4. I mean, think about it. Horvat did not do great. Matthew Barzal was not around, and the team still went 17-9-4.
Yep.
It can only happen to the Islanders. Only.
Yeah.
Only us in this case.
And
So
remember, that's a 104-point pace.
yeah,
That's
it's
a
a
104-point
point
pace and
pace.
30 points. And by the way, Florida just scored. It's 1-0.
1-0. Thank you, Randy. Yes. Yeah.
Anyhow,
Yeah. See, I will disagree with that one because Horvat actually he had the more creativity as a centerman to get our defense actually scoring points because since Horvat showed up, Dobson and Aho were just tearing it up. Dobson had 20 points in his last 30 games. So I think it had more to do with Bo Horvat as a center than Matthew Barzal as a center. So and yeah, let's talk about it. The power play a little bit more. Generated more goals. We would be talking, we wouldn't be talking about this. As a matter of fact, I think we'd be getting ready for round 2.
yep.
We'd be getting ready for round 2. Let's just face it. And again, some of these penalties that were taken, not a disciplined team at all.
No.
Matt Martin in game 4 was stupid. The refs didn't help. There's nothing you can do on that.
And
Go ahead.
please, people, stop blaming the damn referees. Yes. Could they have called things on Carolina? Absolutely. But good teams, and we said it all along, good teams win despite the stripes. You do what you got to do. You don't get the call, you work harder. You don't get that play, you dig into your zone and get in and make plays. You get around what happens. Because believe me, there were just as many calls that could have went on us that didn't get called either. We tend to be blinded in one side because of the officiating, but it's not. It is not. Just as many calls went our way, many calls didn't go their way. So stop blaming them. You win despite. And they had their opportunities. And it just didn't cash in. Period.
I'll say this on the refs. I was looking for a little more consistency league wide. We didn't see it. This was definitely,
and it's all over. It's all over.
It's all over here, and that's what bothers me. There's a major consistency with, well, I should say there's a lack of consistency among the refs league wide during these playoffs that I wasn't happy with, and there was certainly stuff going on during this season, during this series, that could have been improved. But again, you get hit in the face. That's one thing. You can make a case to the ref, but if no call's made, you got to get back.
Well, I will say in deference that in the last 2 or 3 years, you lost a lot of good quality officiating. You got a lot of guys that, forget the usual cast of characters, but you got a lot of guys that are officiating in this league that are very young and they're very, just like a player can be raw. These referees can be a little bit raw, but again, it goes back to it. You win despite it. You work out what you do despite the situation.
Deirdre, we'll help you out here. This is not really a Captain Obvious moment, but we can confirm that Barzal was playing injured.
Yeah.
To what severity, we don't know. But yes, he was playing injured, and you could basically tell on the ice. But we actually got confirmation that Barzal was playing a little injured. To what extent, again, we won't know. We weren't told that, but if you've been watching hockey for a while as well, you really don't need our confirmation to let you know that Barzal was playing injured. So yes, he was injured during this series.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, he did. Yeah, definitely not his full self, and I think that plays a role. So, yeah, guys, we're gonna let you guys fire away with any kind of questions. For the most part, as long as they're reasonable, we can answer them. This is pretty much your show. For me, when you get two teams like Carolina and the Islanders, I expected boring. In all honesty, these are two teams. Yes, Carolina probably should have scored more goals, but then when you lose all your star players like that, you're down to a longer series the way it is. I was actually expecting more overtime games, didn't get it. Um, I was kind of hoping to see, obviously, I think we all were, a few more goals scored after the Islanders went on that barrage. And I think the biggest killer for me had to have been that last game. I'll leave this here for a moment. That third period had to have been their worst period in a long time.
Yeah.
The Islanders in the third period of the regular season have outscored their opponents 89-64. It's 25 goal difference in the third period, ladies and gentlemen.
Yep.
And you're in game 6 of elimination and you just sit back. Yeah. I expect something out of that Jack Capuano era. That's when I expected that. I did not expect that.
No, that was the third. That was the third period of a regular season game against a mid-level opponent. When it comes to the playoffs, you don't take your foot off the pedal. I mean, you're not playing. Not that you're playing desperate, but you play the whole shift. You put everything out there, like you said. They were flat. I mean, unbelievably flat, and that doesn't happen in an elimination game. And people are going to blame officiating. I mean, not fishing, coaching. They're going to blame that. But you know what? It's the guys on the ice. They just didn't. I hate to say it, but they really didn't look like they wanted to do anything. And for a guy, and going to the end, I mean, the lackadaisical way that Pelech put that puck out or tried to clear that puck out. I'm sitting here before he puts the pass off, in my head I'm going, uh-oh, we're going to lose this. And sure
enough, was it laziness or burnout?
No, I wouldn't call it burnout. Not at that point. No, I think that was just a lazy clear.
Okay.
In my opinion. And that was right in front of me. From where I sit. So yeah, I was not. I know what he was trying to do. He was trying to, do a knock hockey pass off to I don't remember who was right at the center line, but there was no urgency to it.
Right.
And that's the saying. If you're tired, I could see if you're tired, but no, there was no urgency to that pass, and there should have been.
Okay. I'm not completely disagreeing with Matthew here. Lee has looked non-existent for a long time. He's declining very quickly. I'm going to flip that. I think Lee has overachieved greatly. This guy is no more than a 30-goal scorer at best. He had that, 1 year of 40 goals and whatnot. But boys and girls, he's only averaged about 20 goals a season the last 3 or 4 years. If you play the percentages, it's only about 20 goals. He's at a peak 29, and he scored 28 right now. There's nothing wrong with Anders Lee. What Anders Lee and the rest of the Islanders need, if they're going to play a more offensive system, is bringing in more offense to alleviate some of the pressures that these guys are having.
Bringing more speed.
Yes, they need more speed. So, Matthew, you're on the right track. I just think Lee needs more help during the regular season, because again, let's face it, Kyle Palmieri was out for half a season. Adam Pelech was out for half a season. Oliver Wahlstrom never showed up after he got injured. We can go down the line. Anthony Beauvillier really didn't show up that much. We're not even going to discuss Josh Bailey yet. I mean, there are holes in this team right now, and Lee and Nelson did the best that they could do with what they had. So,
yep.
I understand where people are going to be upset with players like Lee and Nelson, but it's to further your point. The Islanders need to bring in more help for Lee and Nelson and the rest of that core. You guys are not wrong with what you're saying, but I'm just going to – we're trying to find a middle ground here.
Right.
All right. Islanders lost. Let's do a little segue here. Where will the improvements come from in the offseason? UFA class, no farm system, aging team. I worry about that for next year. Again, hopefully you guys follow me over the summer. You guys know I do cover the draft, and that includes everyone in the minors, Bridgeport, all of the junior kids still playing Canadian junior or European hockey. They do have a farm system. It's limited. Excuse me. But you do have a couple of those players who could be ready to be called up. Simon Holmstrom, Samuel Bolduc, Ruslan Isakov. Yeah. If he's still around, Otto Koivula can fill in for 5 games. He wasn't out of place. He was like a Parker Wotherspoon. Wasn't out of place, but I don't think you're going to need him for the entire season. They're starting to get that. You're going to like some of these college free agents that they just signed on defense as well. But that's going to lead into a bigger show later on. Let's just start with the improvements coming in the offseason. We briefly did the math here, guys, on the cap before the show, and it's very simple. The Islanders have roughly just under $7 million in cap space right now as we speak. The salary cap is supposed to rise roughly $1 million, if not maybe a little bit more. We'll find out. So that's basically taking you to 8. If the Islanders do in fact buy out or they trade Josh Bailey, I would personally prefer them trade Josh Bailey. If you can trade Andrew Ladd, you can trade Josh Bailey.
There's got to be a team looking at the floor.
Yes. And there's going to be a couple of them.
You can find it.
You're going to find it. If you can trade Andrew Ladd, you can trade Josh Bailey. So if the Islanders can get themselves minimum 10, 11 million in the cap space before the season or during the offseason at any time, you can re-sign practically any player you want, save for maybe Scott Mayfield. Scott Mayfield, I think, it's more of a personal decision for him. Does he want to take less money to stay, or does he want to make the bigger bucks with another team? For me, I think you can basically re-sign everybody, and that's including Zach Parise if he wants to come back. I mean, if you guys really want to funnel through the numbers, go right ahead. But again, it's April 30th. Take our word for it for now. You do some small, simple contract buyouts or trades or whatever, even at the draft, wonderful. You can bring back basically everybody, but I still think Scott Mayfield will be more of a personal decision. But if I had to put money on it, maybe he comes back. But That's not to say that everyone is, but that's just a simple math. Worst case scenario, everyone has the possibility of coming back. I agree, Matthew. They played not to lose. Gary, thoughts on that?
Well, played not to lose? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's just, you do that in game 47, against Anaheim or Minnesota or Chicago or whatever. You don't take your foot off the pedal in game 6 when you're up 1-0. It's not that you're going balls to the wall, but you just stay aggressive and stay focused on the plan. And like I said, laziness cost them.
Again, to blame Lambert for this is ridiculous. I'm going to disagree. I think that is a little bit on Lambert as well. Granted, first year coach, but he's been around for quite a bit. You don't take your foot off the gas on the third. You go for it or you don't. I think Islander fans would be a little more forgiving if the Islanders went for it and lost. They might be a little more forgiving if the Islanders in that third period went for it and lost. They didn't. And I think that's what's really bothering Islander fans today. But some of this has to go to Lambert. That third period, for me, that's on Lambert. Because I'm sorry, if you're playing back, that can't be a player mentality. Sorry. You got to be listening to the coach, or you're all doing the same. You're all agreeing to do the same style in the third period. That's also on coach. Sorry. Yeah. Here is a problem with $7 million salary. I, I don't see Lee getting traded. Let's just help you out with that. I don't see Lee getting traded. He hasn't had numbers wise. There hasn't been a reason to. But again, for me, let's say next year he gets injured. That's $7 million in cap space that they can use throughout the entire season up until the trade deadline. Who do you want to get?
Right.
Who do you want to pluck off waivers?
And as you said earlier, people should not be equating Anders Lee to be a 45-105 player. Okay. No. He's a good 30-70 player at best. He got the 41 year, but that's what you got. You got a 30-70 player that is great in the locker room, that is respected league wide. Those guys are hard, and that's not necessarily easy to find. I mean, is he making too much money? Yeah, but you had to pay him at that point. You had to do
because you lost out on Taylor Hall.
Yeah, well, yeah, but how much has Taylor Hall done, really?
We'll see. He's not done yet.
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't think he's been on the third line for Boston. But then again, any good player would be playing third line for Boston right now. But again, it's just don't equate these guys to be more of what they really, really are. That's the problem. People are overinflating players' value or not in their value. To me, as Paul said, you're not going to let Lee go. There's just no way.
Yeah, he's the captain of the team. He's not going anywhere unless he wants to be traded. And in all honesty, folks, well, again, we'll see what happens. If Lou is still the general manager, none of these players are going anywhere because it's really up to them unless they absolutely find a way to get themselves off the team. We had a question about Matthew Maggio. I like him. Right now, though, I'm going to put him on that level of Michael Dow Cole. I don't know if he's going to be a top 6 winger in the NHL. We know he can score in the in the Ontario Hockey League, but the Ontario Hockey League it's a shooter's gallery. It's always been a shooter's gallery. Okay, the last great, I don't want to say great player, but the really good, strong draft pick we had out of the Ontario Hockey League was Ryan Strome, playing for the Niagara Ice Dogs. Josh Hosang to a degree, but Maggio, put him right now keep your expectations lower for Maggio. Let's see what he can do. I like his speed. I think his speed is going to complement very well in the American Hockey League. But like all scorers, we need to know if he has a 200 game. He's got to have some kind of a 200 game. And it's not just the Islanders system. It's every team. Every NHL team has some kind of a 200-foot system. You got to see if they have it. So give Maggio a little bit of time, and we'll go from there.
I would put him a little bit above Dow Cole so people don't freak out. But yeah, he's got talent, and those last 2 years, that overage year really did a lot for him, and his game and the team that he played for, it helped spark him, and it shot his numbers up, and that's why you hope that he leaps to that level, but don't think that you're going to see him in October in Elmont. That's not happening, folks. You got a lot of other guys that are more prepared if they have to make that jump than he does. He's got to prove himself. He's got to prove himself at the AHL level. And that's what Paul and I were talking about before the show. We go back and look deep into your souls and look at the way this organization has developed just forwards. I'm not looking at the defensive side of the game, but who was really the last forward that we really developed in the AHL? You can't include Nelson. You can't include Lee in that equation because they play college. But I'm talking about
Ryan Strome might be the last one. Now that I just thought
that will be the only. That's the last one, and that's what 10, 12 years ago.
About that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That to me, that's an issue with this with this organization is the development. Not that we don't get talent, but you don't get talent internally from your system and build it up. You've got a potential in Holmstrom that is only 21. You've got a potential in Dufour, maybe another year away, maybe 2 years away. Maggio's going to fall into that category. But you got to hope as an organization that you can build from within. Great teams do that. You see, teams like Florida or in Boston, and they can get talent from within.
Look at Seattle.
Yeah,
look at Seattle. Okay, Seattle with their expansion. Okay, folks, I can't begin to tell you. Well, I have told you. I'm going to do it till I'm blue in the face like this shirt here. The Islanders need to have more experienced prospects in the minor leagues and in the playoffs. If you take a look at the Seattle Kraken, almost every single one of those players have had some kind of Calder Cup success, which is prepping them for a legitimate playoff shot, a legitimate playoff run with Colorado Avalanche right now. The Islanders have not had that ever. So that's part of it.
Certain teams can be lucky. So I'm sorry. Certain teams can be lucky and build that way. We have not had that luck. We have not had that fortune.
We haven't done that since. Look, other than 2000, what was it? 2001. Luongo, not Luongo. Oh, sorry, Lou. DiPietro and Hunter. 02.
Yeah.
The Bridgeport Sound Tigers. That was it.
02. Yep.
You go back to the last prospect pool that the Islanders really had. Todd Bertuzzi, Brian McCabe, Ziggy Palffy, Tommy Salo, Jamie McLennan. God, we can go down the list. Vladimir Malakoff. God.
Marty McGinnis.
Yeah. Travis Green.
Yep.
That was it. We're literally talking 20 years ago. 20 years ago.
30.
Is it 30?
Yeah, Green, 93.
30. Yeah,
30 years.
93. 30 years, folks. Richard, I think they really need a D-man. Hopefully Wallstrom and Engvall both back and perform, but lack of D-man depth really hurt. I'm going to go offensive D-man, Rich. I'm going to help you out on that because I again, there's a strong correlation to when the defensemen get involved in the offense. The Islanders, I don't want to say are unbeatable, but their winning is practically 2-1. And again, that could be due to the power play as well. But I agree. All right, so let's have some fun here. Scott Mayfield decides not to return. Are you going to put another offensive defenseman with Sebastian Aho, who's a little more defensive minded, with a little more speed? Give me a younger Nick Leddy, I might let you do that. Devon Tays.
You have two guys that are college signees that we pulled, the PTOs after the season ended. You got a couple of kids that may be ready in a couple of years, but you got to get, if Scotty leaves, you got to get somebody in there.
Yeah, and Rich, I agree to a point with the D-man because Lou had said he wanted to get a stay-at-home defenseman and another offensive defenseman. But Gary, I'll leave this for you. Sebastian Aho defensively has had his issues. We know that. We know the weight room is going to be essential. We know that. But he has blossomed, especially lately, running that power play and having that creativity. He was responsible for that Palmieri goal.
Mm-hmm.
Do you stick with someone like Sebastian Aho for another year to see where he can go?
Well, I know the people that sit behind me in 316 when they hear 316 when they hear this statement, they're going to want to lynch me. But oh, they will.
Okay.
Especially the girl that sits behind me because she calls him Ano. But yeah, there are signs. You can't teach speed. You can't teach defensive speed bringing the puck up, and that's one of his best traits. That he can bring that puck up, get across center, get into the the offensive blue line and control. You like that. Again, on a slightly slower scale than Nick Leddy was, but definitely that's one of his strong suits. But you got to get him, you have to have a Mayfield like or a strong defensive minded guy to be back behind and covering. There were signs of brilliance, but there were signs of disaster, and that's the problem. You just it's tough to have an all or nothing kid on defense. But yes, do I take a voucher on him? Yeah, I would.
Okay.
I would. But he's gonna have a short leash.
Okay.
In my opinion.
Fair enough. I'm going to go with Matt again, and I'm going to expand this out here. Talking about season as a whole, can't fire Lambert for one period. True. When the skill and speed has been a problem for at least 5 years, that's squarely on Lou. No, I'm going to shoot that down again. For the 2 COVID seasons, I don't know how any other way to describe this, because I know I talked to Gary during the bubble and stuff like that. I was in the long-term care facilities. I was one of those people who got stuck at work for 62 hours a week, couldn't go home. We knew, even at work, that these were going to be shortened seasons just because of the health policies that were going around. Lou and the rest of the NHL knew in months in advance that this was just going to be a tournament type of season for those 2 seasons. You didn't need any of that. All you had to do was show up for 24 games and win most of them. The Islanders did that. So you have to take off at least the last 3 years, the first 3 years of Lou's campaign here. Okay. Last year, UBS Arena. Okay. Rough schedule. Okay. But again, last year we started to see some of those things that you are describing. They started to come out last year. And again, I'm expanding this part out now. Folks, you are in a retool right now. You've been in one since the last draft, when they traded for Romanov. You can't tear down the whole place. You can't. You just re-signed Bo Horvat. You have Matt Barzal doing an extension. Ilya Sorokin is here and now. You cannot go into a rebuild. And for those of you who don't like the financial situation or the financial answer, the Islanders are still building their hotel, maybe the casino, there. They need to attract the more people. So in order to keep everything going, the Islanders need to be at the very least, competitive. And the way you do that is to continue to retool. Okay. Retools take 2, max 3 years if done properly, but then you have to draft. We are in the middle of an Islanders retool. Okay. For those of you watching the playoffs, the Rangers did a retool when they should have done a rebuild. The Rangers took 2 years of a retool, and now they're on the verge of losing to the New Jersey Devils, hopefully tomorrow. I'm telling you now, if the Rangers lose tomorrow, they're going to be in a worse spot than the Islanders ever will be, because there may not be any coming back for the Rangers in quite some time. So for those of you who want to do a complete teardown, forget it. It's not happening. It can't happen for the obvious reasons that we're stating tonight. Let's see what the draft happens. Maybe we trade Bailey at the draft. Maybe we buy out Clutterbuck. These are just some of the simple moves. For me personally, I would love it if Bailey was traded for a couple of prospects. Give me a centerman. Give me a centerman first year in the American Hockey League where there's a team full of center depth, wherever. Anything. So, I think Lambert was out coached. That's fair.
Very fair.
I'm all right with that.
So am I.
I'm all right with that. But again, this is the first year. I think you have to give Dobson, Aho, even Horvat, Lane Lambert, give them that first year. I don't know about the power play coach, McLean. I don't know if we give John McLean another shot. That's when that's gotta that drop
I
pass.
Say no. I say
that
absolutely
drop pass,
no.
Yeah, that drop pass has got to change.
Yep. They got. I mean, they've gone what this has got to be. I think it's 4 power play coaches in 6 years.
Yeah. The drop pass does not work.
Different. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, regardless of what their philosophy is,
Yeah.
it's got to change in the. I mean, yes, it's bad, but it's got to change in the minds of the players. Specifically, it's like predictable. You know exactly what they're doing.
And
They
that's
move
what
the
happened
puck
with
around a little
Dobson.
bit. They drop
That's
it
what
back
happened
to
with
Barzell, and you know what's going to happen. He's going to cough it up, and it's gone.
right.
You know
And
it.
that's what happened with Dobson mid-ice. Stahl was literally behind him
Yep.
because he knew Dobson was going to drop it back. It's too obvious.
And again,
So
Paul and I have not played. We don't play the game, but at least we are students of the game, and I can see
I
you.
used to
You can
play.
see it. I
Yeah.
can see it. It's obvious to. It's more obvious to the people that are experts.
Yeah.
For us students that we see it, it's glaring.
Yeah.
The team doesn't move their feet. They're predictable in what they do. Change it up. It's very simple.
Great question here by Mark. A retool to stay a bubble team, is that worth it? Yes. And the reason why it's worth it, Mark, is because I believe in 2 years, Gary, we're going to have a salary cap increase of, if I'm not mistaken, $7 million.
7 to 8 million.
Yes. Yes. So when you have that aging Lee and you have that aging Nelson play for another year or two at their peak, you're going to have more cap space to play with. And all you're helping is Horvat, you're helping Dobson, you're helping Barzell. If you guys have watched my show on the core, you got your Twilight core, you've got your high core and your future core or whatnot. The Islanders are not going to be spending money for Lee, Nelson, Mayfield, Cizikas. They're not buying for those guys. They're going to be paying money to help Barzell, Sorokin, all of these younger players. So yes, staying a bubble team, making the playoffs, and then spending some money, serious money. Yes, it's absolutely worth it. The Islanders are not a small market team anymore.
Nope.
They're not. This is going into a complete rebuild right now is almost, it's funny, Gary. Everyone's saying that the Islanders system is old, slow, it's got to be gone. I almost want to say doing rebuilds is the same philosophy. It's old, it's slow, no one wants to do it anymore. I think retools are going to be the thing from now on. You've got 2 or 3 years to do something, and if you don't, you're going to start all over again. But the teams are now going to have money to spend in another 2 years. Yep. So, no, for me, you guys followed us all season long, and thank you for that. I had a theme at the beginning of the season where I felt this was like the 2003 New Jersey Devils, where the Islanders were battle tested. They needed to make some moves before the trade deadline and then make that push forward. They did that. We didn't get the winger, granted, okay, but well, we did get that sexy winger if you really like Pierre Engvall. But I think he's got room to improve, but they made those moves. They probably should have made more, but they made those moves. Right now, I'm looking at the Islanders more like the Boston Bruins of just a few years ago when they were at 93 points and 95 points and they missed the playoffs. Both those 2 years, they were able to do a retool in those 2 or 3 years, including drafting in 2015. All 4 of those players, and then poof, there they go. They're out and running. The Islanders are in a similar mode where, in this case, they made the playoffs. But if they can continue to do their retooling now,
2-0.
2-0 Panthers.
Yep.
Damn it, Joe's not coming on. If the Islanders can continue to retool like that, the Islanders are going to be good because let's be flat out honest here. Okay. The Islanders right now are going to be in a better spot than Pittsburgh. They're going to be in a better spot than Washington. Oh, they're going to be in a better spot than the Rangers if the Rangers really blow this one up. Okay. Yes, Carolina is running on. They're not running on fumes. But Carolina's time is also running out. Carolina's going to be in desperate need of a power play. I'm sorry, to get younger, a little younger. I saw power play on the bottom here. New Jersey's going to be up there. Carolina's going to be here for a little while longer. Honestly, folks, Philly's not going anywhere. Columbus is going to be better. And again, the Islanders last season, they were on a 100-point pace for 60 out of the 80 games this year. 60, 100-point pace. They have to find a way to fix that 20. They may have, with some of the players that they brought in, they're not done yet. Do I think this could be a 100-point team again? Not yet. Not for a full season. We have to see what they do cap management-wise. Cap management and rebuild a little bit more of Bridgeport. But it's there. I don't think they're going to necessarily be a bubble team, but they're trying. Lou is at least trying to get this team to a point where there's going to be enough money in the cap where they can just go hog wild, and Malkin will be in charge of everything again and be like, here you go. Welcome to our hotel. Welcome to the casino. We got an all-star game coming up. The playoffs are nothing like anything else in the NHL. It's all selling points at this point to, when the free agents are here, and we're close to it. Look what happened with Bo Horvat. It's all there. So yes, I am definitely for a retool than I am a rebuild. Even if it's a bubble team, I don't care, because as far as I'm concerned, anything can happen in the playoffs. We have the best goaltender in the league. Yeah, we have the best goaltender in the league. Yeah, he's got it. We need a legit power play. Yeah, we've talked about that, Dennis.
No joke.
Yeah, it starts with that coach first. It starts with McLean. But yeah, look at this right now. Boston losing opens up the door for the Leafs. Rags to win the East. Devils better win tomorrow. But look at Boston. Look at Boston right now. They're on the verge of losing after having the greatest regular season.
Ever.
This is my point.
Ever.
This is my point, folks. It doesn't matter where you finish. It doesn't matter. This is why I love hockey as a sport. There's nothing better than NHL playoffs. And this is coming from someone who played college basketball. Okay? I love the NHL playoffs. There's nothing like it. I love college basketball playoffs, whatnot. But the NHL, this is why.
I didn't know that
Pulick
about
and Pajot.
you.
What's that?
I didn't know that about you.
What's that?
College basketball.
Yeah. Yeah, very, very, very limited time. But yes. Pulick and Pajot would get you the most back. I'm not trading Pulick yet. Pulick's on my hot seat. Gary knows this. For those of you who have watched the show, Pulick's been on my hot seat now he's been on the hot seat now for like this year. He's probably my biggest disappointment out of all the Islanders this year.
Although I like the way he came out and hit and did in the playoffs. Yeah.
He did.
But
yeah, I still expect more points.
It's going to be a hard contract. It's a hard contract to give up because he's got 6 years.
Yeah.
That'd be hard. It's a hard, granted, you would like to, but there's no way you're going to get rid of that contract.
Look, folks, let's have fun here. Let's have a small water cooler talk moment. If you want to improve the offense through the defense, I would trade Ryan Pulick, JG Pajot, and Josh Bailey right now for Erik Karlsson. Bye. Done.
Mm-hmm.
Done. Ryan Pulick, Josh Bailey, JG Pajot for Erik Karlsson right now. Bye. That's the only trade you're going to be able to make.
And dollar-wise, fits.
It almost fits. And that was just spitballing, folks. That was literally spitballing. That shows you how much time I really spend on Cap Friendly when I shouldn't. Okay?
That's why we pay Paul the big bucks.
I mean, San Jose would never do that. Of course they would. Karlsson's contract is like, what, another 20 years? Of course they take shorter contracts.
$10 million a year? Yeah.
What's he got, 10 million?
10.5, I think.
Yeah, whatever. They would absolutely do that. Anyway, any concerns about Dobson with his play dramatically falling off in the second half of the year? No. And again, I need to remind people that he is only 23. He was left with Andy Green at one point, Zdeno Chara, and then Barry Trotz. He is now basically fighting for his own, and this is a different kind of learning curve. Um, Romanov, I also think will be better. Sebastian Aho, we've also talked about. I think he'll be better. But these last 3 years have been nothing but development for Noah Dobson, and that includes this year. I don't like the turnovers. I think it was a lack of confidence as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not thrilled with him on the power play, on the first power play. But again, I think a couple of changes need to be made, and really need to get his opinion on what he wants.
By the way, Carlson makes 11.5.
Oh, 11.5? Okay, so Bailey at 5.
11.5.
10. Yeah, why not? San Jose would be over the ceiling. You guys are nuts. Now, look, I make a trade deal, and now none of you want to get rid of Pulock. Really? Really? You guys are amazing. Amazing. Maybe maybe Pulock and Peugeot. You're going to get the best value. Now I don't want to trade Pulock. You guys are amazing. Love you guys. Anyway. Is Lou Lamoriello going to be the one to retool the New York Islanders?
That's the $64,000 question. And as we said, they made the decision on Barry so early after the season last year. His contract is up on June 30. I think that's a situation you've got to address now. So I would not be, I don't say wouldn't be surprised, but I would like to see a decision about that made in the next 10 days. Whether he is or whether he isn't, you make that decision so that you know where your base is going to be. Randy, of course, right?
No. I actually had a conversation with another friend of mine, and we just talked about Lou for a moment. But no, well, first of all, again, I'm going to reiterate this again. We were told that Barry Trotz left for personal reasons. Yes. We did not ask what those personal reasons were. Okay, I know a lot of you will say, he wanted to be a general manager, and that part is true, but every other question has been sidetracked about his family. Nothing has been asked about his family. Everything else has been talked about but his family. So I'm going to stand my ground here and say Barry Trotz left the Islanders for very good personal reasons, but while he was at it, he got himself his dream job in Nashville, and congratulations to him. But yes, I don't think that decision was made by Lou or the owners. I think that was more personal for Trotz leaving. However, getting back to Gary's thought on the 10-day rule here for Lou Lamoriello, I personally would love it if the Islanders said absolutely nothing to the fans about Lou and his contract and made you guys absolutely just guess away up until the draft. Because I don't think they're going to say a word. I think me personally, I think Lou is here. I don't think an announcement's going to be made. The opinion's going to be, you guys don't need to know. It's not happening. Well, it's going to happen. You guys are never going to know. I think that's going to be Lou being Lou. You guys are not going to have a clue. You're going to go out of your minds. And I think that's all going to be on purpose.
That's wrong. That's wrong on every single level. I get it. I get why you're saying it, Paul. But to me, I'm not thinking about it, based on that. But it's just so you know where you're standing. Not for the fans to know, but as an organization to know, to let to the other 31 teams as well.
Yeah.
I know I'm not wrong in that, but
no.
But you just want to throw me under a bus.
Thank you, Cook. Hi, Cook. How them Bulls? He's so mad. Yeah, I'm a Celtics fan, by the way. So yeah, he's not happy with me right now. See, Cliff, I agree with that. again, for those of you new to the show, thank you for coming on. Your comments are not wrong. I don't take them as wrong, or I don't, I don't put any of our viewers down except for Brush. But
Yeah,
yeah, he's the
that's
only one. And
deservedly so.
Joe's not coming on the show ever again if Florida wins tonight. It's just never happening. I'm sure there are younger, up and coming assistant GMs familiar with the new style of NHL that deserves a shot to be a GM. Completely agree. But I'm going to throw this again. For those of you who are new, the Islanders, when they were at Nassau Coliseum for those 2 years, the last 2 years, both Malkin and Ledecky and the other owners of the Islanders lost $70 million because of Lou Lamoriello. And because of those two conference final runs in the bubble with the brand new UBS, it was a selling point. Maybe things would have been different last year had the Islanders made the playoffs. But Lou Lamoriello is very much responsible for getting back that $70 million. He's a GM of the year 2 years, for 2 years in a row. He's earned at least, well, let me rephrase that. At most 2 years. He's 80 years old. I think if he were 60, I would have gone at least 3 years. He's 81?
2-1. Boston scored.
Oh, I'm like, what the hell are you doing? This is not baseball. Stop giving me signs. Okay. Cliff, I agree wholeheartedly with that. But Lou Lamoriello, the owners kind of owe him one here. He helped make that money back. Yes, UBS Arena was a big sticking point, but you needed to have a team to get the promotions going and to get that team going. And the Islanders made the playoffs, and everybody knows who follows hockey, you make your money in the playoffs. The Islanders did that. So at the very least, Lou should be back for maybe no more than 2 years. But that's just my thought. I don't even want to know if Lou comes back or not. This is going to be so much fun. I don't care. I'm going to sit back and watch all of you guys go nuts. I'm going to love it.
If I have to take more stomach medication, you're getting the bill.
It's good. Are you letting Varley and Mayfield walk? Chris, great question. I don't think Varlamov's going to go anywhere. And I think that has more to do with Sorokin. I think if the Islanders can find a little more offense, where were they? Give me 1 second.
What offense in the league? 23rd?
No. Yeah, see, here's the problem that I had with the Islanders team when Varlamov was in net. When Varlamov was in net, the Islanders only averaged 2.7 goals a game. That's not a lot. When the Islanders had Sorokin in net, they averaged 3 goals a game, but they didn't get to 3 until the final few games of the season. Okay, so if Varley is going to come back, the Islanders' offense is going to have to improve. You know what I'm saying? As far as Mayfield, I still think it's going to be a personal thing with Mayfield. I think if he wants to come back, he will come back. He'll make that work.
And again,
my gut says yes, though.
Varley will get a reduced deal. He'll get a reduced amount. I'm sure he'll take a friendly number if he wants to come back. And he's liked in the room. He's loved in the room. He's loved in the room. He's loved with his goaltending tandem. And again, that's a bond that's tough to separate. If they're so good together, that's hard to take away.
And I again, Cliff, this is another fair point. Lou is 80. Not that I want it to happen, but he's at the age where if he doesn't wake up tomorrow, it wouldn't be shocking for someone his age where that might happen. Again, if something like that were to happen, I think Chris takes over as an interim GM. And I think he would have a very short leash.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just get that out of the way, because let's be honest, if something happens to Lou and you're asking his son to take over, that's going to be tough to do. Is there going to be someone else in that organization who's already an assistant GM with that much experience to take over? I don't think so.
Ask Randy what he wants because he's only mentioned it about 6 times.
What's that? Tree living?
Yeah.
I know. Tree living. Tree living may be an option.
Yeah.
Okay, look, if you want to use Tree Living as an assistant GM, I'm good with that. Bring in Tree Living like they did with George McPhee a few years ago. George McPhee, he was the assistant GM or special advisor to Garth Snow, and then George McPhee went over to the Vegas Golden Knights to become the GM. Okay, if you want to bring in another assistant GM with a little more experience to play that middle person between the Lamoriellos, I'm all right with that. I could expand on that. Why not?
Yeah.
That would make more sense. He's not going to do a lot because Lou's going to have complete control, but at least he'll still be in play here. He's going to know what's going on. So if Tree Living doesn't mind being assistant GM for the next 2 years, why not? He went through hell in Calgary. He's if anybody is really good at a retool, it would be Tree Living, no doubt. But
Yeah.
Lou's all right now. Lou's got to get this team over the 20 more games on a 100-point pace. Yeah. Better strategy approach. Too many things are repetitive with the same players. Change up the game plan. Yeah, no. Gary was just saying that before.
We've been saying it.
And I think again,
We were
that's going to be
saying it.
first year. That's Lane Lambert, first year. He's going to have to adapt. He's going to maybe change a few more things.
Yeah.
Who has more? Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. No, you go. You go. Sorry.
No, I was going to go into the next question, but go ahead.
No, I'm just saying. In my honest opinion, with the system, it was good for what it did for the last few years. I think it's and Lane basically, they kind of said in so many words they were going into a hybrid approach. They were taking what was good for a couple of years and making a couple of changes here and there. I think it needs to be more tweaked. It needs to come out of the
everything's getting retooled. Everything is getting retooled. This is just the first year.
Not players, but system. But system.
Everything. Yeah. This is just everything's a retool right now, folks. This is what you're witnessing. You're witnessing a retool live. We just got through the first season. You're gonna go through it next season as well, and we're gonna see where it takes us from there. And then we're going to, then the decisions are going to be even easier when the Islanders have more money to play with, along with every other NHL team. So, John, who has more weight, the president of hockey operations or the GM? Believe it or not, the GM.
Yeah.
The hockey of operations, they're more like the promoters. They help try to bring some players in. They try to be the spokesperson. They just want to make sure the day-to-day operations of the team is running smoothly. The GM has a little more weight because yes, if you have full control of the team, you don't have to go through owners. The owners already have that faith in you. You can basically do whatever you want. I'm sure Lou goes to Malkin for any kind of a final decision, because you need that kind of communication. But as far as president of hockey operations, it's literally just that, making sure the team is run well. Has nothing else to do. It's basically a day job.
Yeah, and those who don't know, everything does not. John Ledecky does not deal with any hockey question.
Mm-mm.
No, he is your pom-pom guy. He is your promoter. Scott's not here, but Scott's the majority owner. So anything that's going with the team goes through Scott.
Yeah,
no question.
And that's
anybody that thinks differently is very much mistaken.
Yeah, yeah, and that's why it. Let me. Okay, so let me. I'm getting a couple of disagreements here. Let me rephrase some of this. Then, when it comes to the Islanders themselves, the GM has more weight. The president of hockey operations is basically Scott Malkin, if you really wanted to put it that way. Okay, he tells everybody else what to do, but Lou's been in this for so long that he knows how to operate the team. So in this case, who would you rather have as hockey operations? Where would you rather have Lou in GM? If you either take out 20 years and have Lou as a 60-year-old again, would you rather have him as a GM or hockey ops? I would absolutely have him as a GM.
GM.
You can put anybody else as hockey ops, but Lou would still be in control of that. No one's touching him. Because at this point, the only person Lou reports to is, in fact, Scott Malkin.
Yep. Malkin is the real estate guy, as Matt has said, but it's still
Malkin is also writing the checks. Yeah.
Yes.
Malkin is still writing the checks, no matter what.
Yep.
Yep. No doubt. So,
no question.
All right, so let's move on here a little bit more forward. I'm not even going to lie to you guys. We just got through the first round. I'm still dissecting a little bit more on the Islander stuff. I haven't gone into free agency yet. I'm still covering the draft. For those of you who are brand new to the show, don't forget to subscribe and say hello on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. I do cover the draft. In a couple of weeks, I will be going over Bridgeport. All of our prospects that we already have in the system that could make an impact. And I will be covering the draft at some point, which players we could be the Islanders could be picking in the second round, third round, fourth round, whatever we have.
But we don't have a first this year?
We don't have a first. We don't have a third.
Oh, okay. Right.
Yeah, we only have a second so far. Like I said, the draft's going to be a big one. I would love to trade Bailey. I wouldn't even care if it was a 2024 pick. If we can get something, or give me something like a Michael Grabner trade. Give me a bunch of AHL players with some potential and put them in Bridgeport. Give me that. Let me go to LA. Hello, LA. You want, or Anaheim. Anyone. Give me a winger who needs a place to play or whatnot. Give me a centerman. Just give me a little time to develop. So, that would be ideal for me. But again, for the Islanders, if you can trade Andrew Ladd, you can trade Josh Bailey before you buy him out. See if you can trade Josh Bailey first. But that's going to happen at the draft. We'll see what else is going on here.
Right.
I think we'll come back for round 2. After round 2 is over, if we get into the Eastern Conference Finals, I think I'd love to do a show, and I want to expand the show. We'll talk about the rest of the teams in the NHL. We'll talk about the Devils beating the Rangers.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll talk about no announcement as to who the next GM was going to be of the Islanders. And I think I've been in contact with Kevin Kurz, folks. I'm going to have Kevin Kurz come up in a couple of weeks. He is going to be a guest on the show at some point, and we can talk Islanders. We can talk draft. We'll even go back to San Jose a little bit because he's been through a couple of retools as a reporter himself. So he's seen this already. So we're going to bring him on at some point. We'll go from there. But over the next couple of weeks, we'll talk second round, Eastern Conference Finals. We'll even do a show, maybe if we want, on the Stanley Cup Finals. Again, if Florida wins, Joe's not coming back.
No.
Sorry.
You're banned.
Sorry. I know you guys like Joe. He's not happening. His head will not fit this screen. Forget it. Not happening. Nope. Yeah. So, and again, I will be writing more, especially when it comes to the rest of this season, and the prospects and everything else. So while your season is over, mine is still going on. So again, don't forget to check us out at our website, ilstalk.com, at Twitter on ilstalk, Facebook, YouTube. Don't forget, please hit that like and subscribe button. Last time that happened, we got quite a few more subscribers, which I am very, very thankful for. We are over that hour. Any last minute questions from you guys? Questions, comments, concerns, worries, terrified?
Don't be terrified.
Be terrified, especially if there's no answer from Lou. I love it. Absolutely love it.
You're going to make my life a living hell for the next couple
I am. That's my job. If your wife can't do it, I will do it.
Christ.
By the way, when was the last time you took her to Cracker Barrel? Hey, and on that note, we don't have any more questions, so we're going to...
Well, there's none in Hawaii, so I'm not going to do that in the end of June. So.
Oh, here we go. All right. Well, all right. You know what, Mark? Let's bring up a good point here real quick. If the Leafs, John Tavares, it's been 5 years. he finally gets Toronto out of the first round.
The first
Are you happy for him? Are you you just don't care? Are you happy the Leafs, or are you more happy for the fans? Give me your thoughts on that series, Gary, because I had Tampa winning that series.
I did too. I
Oh,
did
you
too,
did?
but it didn't.
Damn.
But it didn't surprise me. It didn't surprise me. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
You know, defensively, Tampa is slid big time. I mean, Vasilevsky is still Vasilevsky. I think he, you know, unfortunately, I think a lot of the guys in front of him left him to dry. You know, he's still going to be, you know, they're a team that's going to be in a desperate need of a retool at this point.
Absolutely.
You know, you're talking about, you know, yeah. I mean, it's just, you know, guys just didn't step up. They still got their core. I don't think their core is going anywhere. But you know, I just you just wanted Toronto to lose again. You just wanted it. I just didn't, you know, it's one of those things.
Randy.
But yeah.
Well, look, and for those of you who haven't looked, go on Cap Friendly and then go on the Toronto Maple Leafs team section, because you're going to see a sea of red for next season. There's literally a sea of red in their forward lines. They're all unrestricted free agents. Go ahead. Gary's looking it up now. Look at it. It's a sea
oh my
of
God.
red.
Yeah.
It's a sea of red. Toronto had no
O'Reilly,
choice but to win this one.
Achari, Bunting, Simmons, Reese. Yeah, exactly. Hall,
it's a sea of red.
Shen, Gustafson. Yeah. 10.
Yeah. So,
that's 10 red.
Yeah. So, again, Toronto, enjoy your moment. It may not happen next year, but, you know, we'll go from there. But again, we will talk UFAs. If you guys have a list of players you want to bring in as a UFA, we'll talk about it in a couple of other shows. We'll see if the math works. We'll go from there. We'll play all right. I will not subject Gary to that in the summertime. If you guys want to play armchair GM with me one night, I'll be more than happy to do it. Let's see but the numbers have to work. Okay.
Yeah.
Just don't throw in players here.
No, but again, no, you know, as much as I will dissent in cases, I don't say anybody's wrong. I just think people just have to step back a minute before you think about wanting to bring player X or player Y and look at the map that's in front of you. You can't just say, I want A, B, C, D, E, and it's going to happen. Oh my God.
I'm done with him. I am so done with him. This is why I never talk to him that much anymore. I can't take this. All right. That's it. He just ended. He ended this show. Brush literally just ended this show. Taze is coming back. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have now lost control. It has been a pleasure. I'm actually going to Florida to see my family next weekend. So we will be doing a show in roughly 2 weeks. We'll go over the first round, second round, whenever we can. I'm hoping to have Kevin Kurz on the next show. So we'll go from there. So thank you guys so much for coming on. Don't forget to follow us on social media all over the place. And enjoy the rest of the playoffs. And again, bring in those comments and, you know, let us know how you feel about those, you know, about all the playoff games ending in 2 weeks.
If you're on Twitter, DM us on Twitter. I mean,
absolutely. DM Gary.
I'm not on all the time. But again, you know, if you got something to talk about, I'll do it.
And I'm always around. So yes, I'll take this one. Go Devils tomorrow. Yes, running with the Devils. Let's do it. All right, guys. Have a good night. Let's go Islanders and enjoy the rest of the playoffs.
See ya.